Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of Colony Drop, a Gundam podcast. My name is Brian.
And my name is Isaac. This is your favorite Gundam podcast where we talk about everything from Gunpla, which are Gundam models, to the anime series, the movies, the music, lore, concepts, and anything and everything else that is Mobile Suit Gundam related. Isn't that right, Brian?
That is correct. And today, Isaac, we have another mailbag episode. Our mailbag runneth over, Isaac.
It's filled to the brim. It's like that red crimson sack that Santa carries, in all the pictures, and it's just overflowing. Like, oh, why doesn't he just carry two?
Well, I thought his pouch was like magic, right?
But why does it overflow if it's magic?
Oh, that's true. Like, it could just be a pocket, right? If it was magic, he wouldn't have to carry anything.
Maybe. Or do you think he make it overflow in the presence of children so they get excited? So they're like, oh my God, there's so many presents.
Oh, yeah, maybe he's like playing the part, you're saying?
Yeah, he's like, all right, I better shrink that pocket little galaxy that I have in there, that little pocket dimension, and make it overflow. Okay.
Right. I'll go with that. Anyway, so listeners, I think what we've been doing is a mailbag episode every 20 episodes or so of the show. However, that assumed that comments would come in at a certain rate, and apparently over the last 20 episodes they've increased, so we may not make it through all of the mail topics that we had planned for tonight. We'll see how it goes. But I think overall, Isaac, I would just like to say that we love the listeners because they have so many great comments. I love this.
Yeah, we read your comments, if we don't respond all the time, if we don't address it even tonight. But number one, we thank you for them. You took the time to write down an answer. Sometimes there's something we requested during the episode. Other times just with your own comments, observations, ideas. And they're great. They're great. That's what these mailbag episodes are all about. They're about you, the people who must be heard, Brian.
The Gundam fans. And on that note, Isaac, I guess, listeners, if you have any topic ideas that you would like us to cover in the future, please let us know. We're always looking for more topics, right, Isaac?
Yeah, we have a toilet paper roll length of topics to go through that we've created, but you guys are Gundam fans too. If you think of something interesting, pitch it. Just leave it in the comments. We'll see what we can do.
Sunset Productions will do its best to get to your topic.
Sunset. Oh yeah, sunset. The sun might be going down, but our ideas are going to be up all night.
All right, Isaac, let's break into our first topic here.
Sure.
I think what we're going to hit first is the top 5 female pilots episode.
Oh, wow. Yeah. Like anything top 5, really, in Gundam, it was not only an issue of what you like the most, but also maybe certain people were overlooked. Right?
Yeah, we got a lot of flack from certain people for excluding a certain someone, so I'm just going to get it out there and
do it
up front here, Isaac. I'm not going to read through every comment here, but I'm just going to say that we got a lot of flack for excluding one Marida Cruz from Gundam Unicorn on both of our lists. She was not on either of our lists, and people were clearly like, what is wrong with you people? Why is Marida not on your list?
You call yourselves Gundam fans?
Yeah, so eat on you, I am me, not me. I know you both want Marida Cruz, Jason Schmel, sorry if I'm pronouncing your name wrong, and at least a few other people, I think, via other avenues besides YouTube. We heard your cries loud and clear that Marida should have been on the list. So what do you think about that, Isaac? Personally for me, Marida was great. I liked her a lot. She just didn't make it to the top 5. She was definitely in the top 10. But I'll say this, listeners, and I fully understand if you disagree with me here. And I'm curious on your take on this, Isaac. We have not actually reviewed Unicorn on the podcast. We will get to it someday.
That's true, yeah.
But overall in Unicorn, I did not get a feeling of these characters were great pilots by looking at their pilot ability that was shown in the show, other than Full Frontal. Everyone else didn't really impress me that much. Marida was good, but she had the quad wing, which I thought was way better than most other things in the show. I don't know. What are your thoughts on Marida?
Not to save my own skin from the torches and the pitchforks, but I kind of have to agree with the commenters to an extent. Let me explain. Okay, as Brian said, we haven't reviewed Unicorn yet. We've seen it, but we haven't reviewed it yet, and our headspace, time-wise, is just full of UC content that was pre-Unicorn. Okay, that's most of what we watched, right, Brian? Original series, Zeta, 083, F91, blah, blah, blah. So when we recently did this top 5 female pilots episode, so Marida wasn't taking up a lot of space in our brain, at least my brain, that I think she should have.
You're the Xeon sympathizer. You need to justify yourself, sir.
You're right. You got me there. I have no defense. Marida should have made it on the list as far as I'm concerned. So yes, she should be somewhere on at least my top 5 female pilots. It's just my brain's bandwidth didn't include Marida when I had so much other women jockeying for the top 5 slots. So for that, I apologize. I think Marida should be there. I'm not exactly sure where, but she should be on the top 5. And yeah. For that, you have my apology and an invisible bow via podcast.
I mean, I will also say, listeners, it is very hard to create a list of just 5 female pilots. There's a lot of them.
Hang on a second, though, Brian. We can't let you escape. So none of the pilots in Unicorn impressed you? What do you mean?
Other than Full Frontal, not really. I mean, if I had to pick one other besides Full Frontal, it would be Marida for sure. She was good. I lied. I'm like spoiling the Unicorn review a little bit, but my favorite pilot was the guy who piloted the custom Byerland. In the Battle of Torrington, he was like a nameless Federation soldier. They never actually even showed him. And he just took out, like, I don't know, 10 Xeon suits by himself with all kinds of cool moves. Marida was good. I liked Marida. I wouldn't say that she overly impressed me over any other people on my list. But like Benager, I didn't really feel like he was that great of a pilot. He had the Unicorn, which was a great suit, and had all these fancy magic space powers. Ensign Riddy, I don't know, he was kind of a dope a little bit. I forget Full Frontal's right-hand man. Do you remember his name?
Emo. Lieutenant Emo.
Yeah, like Emo Gune, right? He did not impress me at all. He had like a terrible death. So,
wow.
I don't know. Maybe I'll change my mind when I rewatch the show. But I did have her in my top 10. She just didn't make top 5. That's all. So I agree that she's well in the conversation for sure.
Yeah. Okay. Interesting. Well, you're entitled to your opinion.
Which clearly is wrong based on the...
Yeah. I mean, to an extent, you're kind of saying, well, the quad wing did all the work. You know?
Yeah.
It's like, well, it's multi-prong attacks and all its abilities and stuff. Anybody could have done that. So, and maybe you're right. I don't know. But so, all right, Marida. She should be in a top something. Top 8, top 10, something like that.
Agreed.
Probably in my top 5 if I had to revise it. But here we are.
Okay. So some others that were mentioned, probably the number 2 that was mentioned was Luna Maria Hawk from Gundam Seed Destiny, which I did not see coming, Isaac. I like Luna Maria's design. I did not think of her as like a top 5 pilot, though.
No, I agree also because Gundam Seed Destiny was almost just... It was very much a story-driven, not pilot-driven, and that's kind of a silly thing to say now that I've actually said it. But I completely agree that she was not a great pilot. She was maybe fan servicey in a way, but yeah, very much not an Atherin. It's kind of weird that they put her in a red mobile suit, right? Because you know the clear Char implications, and she wasn't like that at all. But no, she is not a memorable pilot, let alone a memorable character.
I mean, I thought she was memorable. I'm just thinking she wasn't near my top 5. She was never on the list. So
there's no way she could be a top 5.
Yeah. So I don't know. That's just our opinion. So some others that were called out, wanted to mention. Jaeger Zaku wanted Ru Luca from Double Zeta. He had her as his number 1 pilot, which I like her a lot. She almost made my list as well, but I was trying to choose people from different timelines. She will make my list in the fashion episode, Isaac. Can't wait for the fashion episode.
Oh, yeah. The fashion episode's coming up.
Hyakushiki 23 was on my side with Haman, and your side. Great opinion there. You are correct, Hyakushiki 23. Edon Yu had Lucrezia 9 from Gundam Wing, which is not a bad pick. I just think she needed more stuff to do in a mobile suit in the show to make the list. She was always piloting an underpowered something.
Yeah, not to be... Well, she had a low bar. And I say that because the Oz and Earth Alliance goons were just so pathetic as enemies.
Edon Yu also had Laughter on his list, which I like. Laughter was a great character. Brian Robertson on YouTube was trying to settle our debate, who's the baddest Xeon bitch. He voted for Kycilia, Isaac.
I mean, she's got a lot going for her just based on her name.
I like the way he put it because he said, I was almost absentmindedly thinking about who has the high score for zombie family members killed, and the first place spot, if I'm correct, is a tie between Char and Kycilia, both having killed 2. Kycilia killed Sasaro and Giran. Char killed Kycilia and Karma. I like Haman and Shima better as characters, but I can't overlook that Kycilia did Char's job just effectively as Char himself.
That's a good point, yeah. Man, I wonder if that didn't happen. Like, how would Char try to get Giran?
I don't know. He would have found a way.
He would have had to have stayed an officer longer enough to get close, or used a mobile suit to do it somehow. Who knows? We'll never know.
Probably the least known pick, Isaac, was from someone named 11G on YouTube. His favorite female pilot is Sophie Fran from the Zeonic Front game and the Gundam Legacy side story manga. And you know what, Isaac? She's a Dom pilot.
Ooh, just a regular Dom, or
I believe it
else?
is a Dom Funf, if I'm pronouncing that correctly. It was the precursor, I think, to the Dom Troppen.
That sounds vaguely familiar. Yeah, I think it was some type of prototype or something like that. But okay, cool. I wonder. I haven't read it. I mean, did she live?
I'm not sure. We'll have to go check it out. Zeonic Front is on our list to play through.
Yeah.
And when we do, we will incorporate the Gundam Legacy chapters. So thanks for pointing that out, 11G. With your help, I was able to locate the manga, so can't wait to read that. So overall, Isaac, I guess we apologize for not putting Marida Cruz on our list.
No, Brian. You don't apologize. You stick to your guns, all right? I will apologize, though. I have to apologize to my brothers and sisters in Xeon for this heinous oversight. And you don't apologize at all, though, because you're with the Federation. You stick by your list and your opinion.
I'm glad you recognize the error of your ways, Isaac.
Yeah, go back to Jabrow and drink tea with Gop.
I think you mean Jaburo.
Jaburo. J-Brow.
Jaburo. Our next topic is, what Western artists would you have make or create the live-action film's opening and ending songs? We had quite the outpouring of opinions here, Isaac. You've read through the comments. Did you expect some of these? Or, overall, there was one glaring omission that we had, so I'll get that one out in front again. We had about 10 to 15 different people tell me this, was that we did not include Linkin Park on our list, and apparently Linkin Park, they are huge Gundam fans. There's even like a Linkin Park version of, I believe, the GP1 Full Burner in a special color scheme. I believe I did know that at one point, however, I must have forgotten it over the years. So we apologize for not putting Linkin Park on the list. Thank you for pointing that out. What do you think about Linkin Park, Isaac? I mean, back in the day, I guess that would have made a lot of sense. The lead singer has obviously passed on. I'm not sure what that means for their desire or willingness to do the movie. I mean, Mike Shinoda is still around, obviously, so it would just sound a little different. It would still be Linkin Park, I suppose. But
yeah, very tragic. If it's with their wishes and that of his family, can't we AI the voice and to an extent bring it back for some original song or something like that? Why wouldn't they, right? Because that would, if it's such a passion for him, it'd be even better to have that brought back. Now the Gundam's becoming a live action movie. But getting back to it, I mean, Brian and I are both fans of many of Linkin Park songs. We both enjoy the music. It came up during, dare I say, the peak of Linkin Park.
Oh, absolutely.
So it was definitely something that should have been on our list also.
I mean, I thought about Linkin Park, but I didn't put it on the list because obviously, Chester's not with us anymore. So
you knew it couldn't happen.
Yeah, I mean, I guess, and that's not to say that Mike Shinoda himself is not good or anything. It's just when I think of Linkin Park, I think of Chester's voice, and he's obviously not around anymore. And I was thinking less so of like using an old song and more of creating a new one. So obviously that's going to be more difficult unless, you went real deep into the AI, like you said. So
yeah, but I mean, I absolutely agree. I think Brian does too, that Linkin Park would absolutely smash a Gundam song out of this world. No pun intended. And yeah, these comments also reflect that, Linkin Park is almost too easy of a choice to pick for Gundam music, right? Like, I think Brian and I we didn't go into left field, but we really dug into, different genres and different routes to try to get to our picks. Linkin Park's a perfect choice. and it's very much like saying your favorite ice cream flavor is chocolate. So Brian and I decided to go for much more exotic flavors and really bring more interesting discussion topics, because Linkin Park's amazing and they do amazing song, and that's all Brian and I would have to say about it.
Well said. So with that, Isaac, I think maybe we'll mention some of the other artists that were called out. So for example, Jake on YouTube, he agreed with me, Isaac, that Amy Lee was a good pick. So suck it. Clearly, people still like her.
Apparently.
But he also mentioned artists like Two Steps from Hell, Apocalyptica, Within Temptation, Trivium, Rage Against the Machine. Wow, Rage Against the Machine, Isaac. That would be something, wouldn't it?
That would, yeah. I mean, Rage Against the Xeon War Machine.
Oh, look at that.
Some of those that drop colonies are the same that cause atrocities. It writes itself. Or Sunset will write it for them and say, look, we did the words, just do the music.
Please say this. Here's a dump truck full of money.
There's a lot of space fascism in this. Just do it. I don't even know what a Dom is. Just say it.
If you made them sing a Xeon song and then they found out what Xeon was about, I think they'd be really upset.
Probably. But you know what they do? They'd release an opposition song. White bass in your face, fighting fascism outer space.
But I don't think they would like the Federation either.
Because it's very much our world, like a corrupt democracy that doesn't really work that great.
Yeah, I think they would like the AUG.
Yeah, oh yeah, they'd be all over that. Yeah, okay. You know what? We'll bring them in for Zeta.
Yeah, they'll be in the Zeta film, everyone.
Yeah, they'll be like, oh, we'll absolutely do the egg music. Are you kidding?
So Eat On You also recommended perhaps a more relevant version of Amy Lee today. No offense to you, Amy Lee. Is Lizzie Hale. She does original music with the band Hailstorm, and she also works with Lindsey Sterling, who's also another pretty cool artist. And then there's also Christina Scabbia of Lacuna Coil. I've heard of Lacuna Coil. I've not really listened to their songs.
Oh, they do I think they're Italian, like death metal rock or something like that, but they do a really good cover of Enjoy the Silence.
Oh, there you go. He also mentioned Mad Kid, who did the intros and outros for, I think, Rising of the Shield Hero, which is an anime series. I gotta say, Frank Stengel, a.k.a. the Tank 894 on Twitter, he sent us this really cool picture of Linkin Park in front of a Gundam that someone drew.
Oh, God. Yeah, it looks great, right?
Yeah. So clearly they were fans, Isaac. Clearly this was like the choice that we were missing, so...
Yeah, we were blind to it. Brian, in our fantasy of creating some type of side story or whatever, we need like a pilot named like Bennington Chester or something like that.
Oh, there you go, yeah.
Or like Shinoda Miko or something.
Yeah. Captain Bennington would work great.
Yeah, or I don't know, the white base is named the Bennington or something like that. Our obligatory Pegasus class is called the Bennington or something.
Yeah, it could be one off. It doesn't have to be the main one. It could be one off to the side. That would be quite the honor, I think. I think they would like that.
There you go. Admiral Shinoda.
Well, I also used this topic to introduce ourselves to Reddit. I went down that rabbit hole.
Oh my God.
Opening us up to the criticisms of Reddit, which can sometimes be a unkind place. But I did it. And overall, the response was positive. We got a lot of comments. So I'm going to list off some things we got from Reddit. So thank you to all the Redditors who responded. So we had Two Dangar suggest the Arctic Monkeys. I haven't heard the Arctic Monkeys in a while, but I like their music, so that was good stuff.
Huh.
Again, there was a lot of Linkin Park suggestions on here, so I know clearly missed them.
It's deafening.
Robo Archer wanted Neil Sedaka, given that Sunrise used his songs for the basis for the Zeta openings and endings. And I think that's where Netflix has a good opportunity for some fan service, Isaac. These songs in Gundam history that were sort of, I don't want to say covers, but heavily inspired by other songs like these Neil Sedaka songs or the Kenny Loggins song.
Danger Zone.
Yeah, they should get those artists to contribute something, whether it's the ending or just sort of fun tracks on the album.
Yeah.
Maybe it doesn't, go in the film, but it could be on the soundtrack.
Yeah, that'd be pretty great. Yeah, Kenny Loggins doing a Gundam Zone.
Yeah, just have him do the winner, like his own version. It'd be hilarious. Other Redditors, Passphrase suggested Aimer. We had a couple suggestions from Harlem 000 for TM Revolution. Kincaid Not Seabook on Reddit wanted The Killers. Ashman 205 wanted some original songs by Bryan Adams, U2, and Aerosmith. I liked him because he had clearly thought about this before, Isaac. This was not the first time that this had run through his mind. He was prepared.
Wow. I mean, if this is a love story, Bryan Adams will sing the hell out of it, won't he?
Yeah,
like,
why not?
He did the song in Robin Hood, and like that was a huge hit. Like people were like, "Oh, and that's like a wedding song for some people." Like Maid Marian in Robin Hood. Wow. Okay, and then Aerosmith. I mean, their song at the end of Armageddon was pretty good.
Yeah, I mean, Aerosmith has a lot of great songs, so you just got to find one that kind of fits,
emotion. Right? Okay, I like how this guy thinks.
Yeah, I'm telling you, this is not his first rodeo.
Huh? Yeah, no. I mean, I laughed at first, but man, you picked some winners. Now that I caught my breath, I'm like, whoa, good on you. Yeah, I'd love to hear like a U2 Gundam song. Wow.
There you go. So thanks again, listeners. Those were some great suggestions, and we apologize for leaving out Linkin Park.
Yeah, man, what an oversight. We're all about oversights, apparently. Brian, we're just too caught up in the now. We ignore what the majority would pick, what the masses would pick, and we just try to go for something that's just different and unique.
All right, Isaac, let's hit on a lighter topic. We did an episode about what if there was a Gundam hotel along the lines of the Star Wars hotel, the Galactic Star Cruiser, right? Is that what I already forgot what it's called?
It's called the Money Pit.
The Star Wars Hotel LARP experience. So I Am Me and Not Me on YouTube, he was thinking of a moon race from Turn A museum experience. This, you could have attractions from any canon and, frame the interaction portions as old protocols or psycho waves reacting to the guests. And that's pretty cool, Isaac. I didn't think of that because I was trying to keep it more UC-centric. But bringing in the moon race as sort of like observers, it reminds me of like the Watcher from Marvel. What do you think about that?
I think that's pretty great. Using the whole moon race and saying, well, you can kind of go into any Gundam time period as long as the moon race is kind of your portal to it. Why wouldn't you? Yeah, that's a great idea. You could be in like a moon race ship or something like that, or the Moonrace Gundam Museum ship. And then, this is the, the section from Zeta. This is everything we've collected from Zeta, that time period. And over here's, this is the Seed era. Oh. Back when they had like wacky things like coordinators and, so you can go over there and check that out. I like that idea. And it perfectly meshes every timeline.
Right. That's a great way to get all the different timelines in. And that way everyone has something that they like, right? Related to the same topic, Eat On You on YouTube pointed out that they did try out a sort of high-end 4 or 5-star hotel that was Gundam themed. It was near Diver City. They had 2 Gundam themed rooms. One was Gundam/Amuro themed, and the other was Char themed. And I did find some pictures of it on a website called Appetite for Japan from 2015. I don't think those themed rooms are still around, but they did look pretty cool. It's not exactly what we're talking about here because this is more of an interactive experience, but in terms of like a themed room, it was pretty neat. It did look a little expensive, what made me laugh the most, Isaac, is it was a Amuro themed toilet.
Yeah, that's the closest you'll get to sitting in his chair.
When you opened the closet, Isaac, there were pictures of the kids, Cats, Let's, and Kika, and they kind of come out of nowhere, which I thought was a little creepy, but.
Yeah, it was kind of funny too,
Yeah.
The adorable little kids. Well, I'm curious though, what was in like the Xeon room? What was in the Char's room? Like, did they show the closet? Like, is it the heads of zombies?
There was a lot of Zaku's. There, I'll try to add the link to the show description so that if you're interested, you can click it and you click through. There were quite a lot of pictures, so
it definitely looks like a good attempt, but at the same time, part of it kind of felt like they just threw Gundam stuff over an existing room.
Right, yeah, it was not intended to be immersive. So
I mean, they did have that cool little cockpit though, but like, it didn't seem like it did much. It was no tech, it wasn't even plugged in anything. It was like a cockpit you sit in, and you put on like the targeting computer, but you're just looking around the room.
Yeah, it was a photo op. Isaac, the next one's for you.
Uh-oh.
So the Reaper on YouTube mentioned that his headcanon for the new type monkeys in Crossbone Gundam Skullheart was that the Xeon cannon was used on them, which is the Zoological Entropy Orbital Neutron Cannon.
That's a perfect acronym for exactly for exactly that situation in the long line of Gundam acronyms that are horribly organized and vaguely appropriate for their actual use. So we salute you for picking that acronym for the transformation beam that made all these monkeys more intelligent. Marginally intelligent, really. I mean...
Hey, they beat the crap out of Harrison. He was like an ace pilot, supposedly.
Oh, yeah, he was? I think Harrison's overrated. He's just lucky he wasn't killed by the Jupiter Empire.
Isaac, this is a good one. Devious1BR from Twitter wanted to let us know that there is actually a dub, an English dub, for Mobile Suit Gundam Igloo. And it's not too bad, apparently. Now, I was not able to actually find the dub.
Yeah, where the heck is it?
It's one of those English dubs from Singapore, for the Singapore market only. Like, it never made it over here. But that's pretty cool. I would like to watch Igloo dubbed. We need to get a hold of that.
I wonder if it's good. Since we didn't hear about it, we didn't know about it. I don't think I've ever seen a Singapore dub before. I'm very curious to hear a Singapore dub, now that I think about it.
They might even hire some of the same normal English VAs from over here, but it's just probably only licensed for that territory, so it can't really come over here.
Oh, damn. I mean, why not? What difference does it make? God, come on, just license it.
Yeah, it's all about that money, man.
Yeah.
So if anyone has good links to the Singapore dub of Mobile Suit Gundam Igloo, not something I thought I'd ever ask for, but please let us know, because I think it'd be cool to at least hear a few minutes of it just to see what it sounds like.
Yeah, what voice they actually gave everybody.
I think what annoys me the most about this is that it's not so much that it didn't make it over here. It's really just that it wasn't included as an option on the DVD or the Blu-ray. It's not like the show is even on TV over here. So I feel like if the dub exists and you're going to put it out on Blu-ray over here, the dub can't be that expensive to license. Come on, Sunrise. Sunset would have put it on there. We would have paid the fee.
We'll hold out hope that as the digital age continues, people will dig up Singapore content and be able to upload it and share.
All right, Isaac. Like, this is probably our heaviest topic for today, Isaac. I don't know what you think, Isaac, but the discourse that we spurred on Gundam Wing, I thought was great. There were a lot of deep comments here. A lot of different people spent a lot of time on their comments, their points, so greatly appreciated. And it was a lot of fun to read through and correspond with you all. So again, thank you. I'm not going to be able to read them all because, Isaac, we could do like a whole 2-hour show just on these Gundam Wing comments. There's so many of them, and they're quite detailed. But we will highlight a few of them here that I think will make for good podcast discussion. So, Isaac, overall, what did you think of these Gundam Wing comments? I think you were overwhelmed, right?
Yeah, I mean, there's so many that we have to go through. We try to pick at least this first batch. There was going to be pretty interesting topics, but I mean, this just shows that we aren't alone in the Gundam universe, Brian. There's other super fans out there that have all these ideas about lore and concepts, and they have their own headcanon, and they have their own ideas about, things that we talk about on the podcast, and they just want to share it. So this is great. This is amazing. Absolutely keep sharing. Absolutely keep commenting. We really appreciate it. And we actually read it and respond. So thanks for that. And yeah, those of you that, maybe don't like Xeon or the Zombies, you can keep your comments to yourself.
Oh.
Or Doms.
Particularly Doms. If you don't like Doms, you can just turn it off.
Yeah, me and all the Dom listeners, we'll pull up in our little hoverboards and skates, and we'll be outside your house and come outside because we can't fit inside.
I'm envisioning it going exactly like the end of Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back, where they go and they find all their internet trolls. That's going to be you, except you're going to be out for the people that don't like Doms.
Yeah. Did you say Doms or the obese version of Mobile Suits? Yeah, I said that. Bam!
Kick their door in.
Right in the kisser, yeah.
But back to Gundam Wing. So let's start on these, see how far we get. So Jake on YouTube had a lot of good points. Well, the one that made me laugh was, one of the biggest gripes I have is how OP the Gundams are. 3 of them specialize in only melee combat. For f***'s sake, you'd think Oz would just spam them with beam weapons and wait till Heavy Arms runs out of ammo. Same with Wing. He's got a point there, Isaac. I mean, Oz could just kind of step back. It's a bit of an oversight on their part, or it just makes them seem more incompetent.
Yeah, well, Oz was incompetent by default because they lost all their power.
Well, true.
You can kind of say it in a lot of situations, right? Why not sit back and just spam?
Yeah. They
kind of were doing that, I thought, at a certain point. Weren't they? Yeah, I think...
definitely once the boys made it to space. I feel like that's how Death Size was done in.
I think something happened on Earth, though. I remember maybe it was a Sand Kingdom. I think that might have been the situation, too, where they're like, well, they're not going anywhere. Just do the usual Dom thing where they just walk slowly and fire, you know?
Another user on YouTube, Honest Observer, was knocking it out of the park with these wing comments. So I've highlighted a few of your points here for discussion, so we'll see how far we get. First, I think Gundam Wing, as you guys pointed out, has a lot of great ideas, but is hamstrung by its execution. Conceptually, it reminds me both of Metal Gear Solid 2 and The Matrix Reloaded, which both came out within a few years of Wing being broadcast on Toonami. An installment within a larger franchise that just has too many high-minded ideas and monologues that just serve to confuse the viewers. But it was ahead of its time in a few ways. The mobile dolls forecasted the inevitable rise in drone warfare. I think he's pretty spot on with that, Isaac. I mean, there's a lot of talking in Gundam Wing. There's a lot of ideas.
Was redone today, or even actually done today, and it didn't happen in the past. That whole discussion about mobile dolls and, you know, humans fighting humans versus humans fighting machines would have almost taken over the whole series as its main plot point, main struggle between people's ideals. Because I feel like really in this kind of pacifism thing, it's we all kind of agree to that already, right? Like everybody wants peace, but the whole discussion about, well, should we use machines as weapons and should we not? It's much more complex and nuanced.
Right. Maybe this show was trying to be about pacifism when what it should have been about was how to get to pacifism. And I feel like maybe that's where it was trying to go, but it didn't really get there.
He took the words right out of our mouth, right? It was so many high-minded concepts all kind of thrown together and mixed up that it might not have been done properly. Fans would disagree, but I like to think many of us who enjoyed parts of it would say, yeah, this thing it's half successful in some areas and other parts are just a mess.
There was quite a bit of love, Isaac, for the Leo, the Tall Geese, and other Oz suits. They are not quite as disliked as we dislike them, but he was wondering if they're, like, for example, he enjoyed the Ares. He liked the large thrusters on the back. And he was wondering if there was an equivalent in the Universal Century that you could think of, like some sort of Earth-based suit that was specialized for flight combat. And if I think of 1 Year War, the only one I could think of was the Goof flight type. Can you think of anything else?
I know if you go to MHQ, you know, there's just a flood of mobile suit variants that we've never seen, that they claim exist. Like, you know, the Zaku flight type, the Dom flight type, the Ifrit flight type, the Gion flight type. I don't want to pull on those because, again, I've never seen it in a manga and I've never seen them in an anime series or OVA or what have you. So, no, I don't think Zeon had a ton of air mobile suits, and I'm struggling to think of anything the Federation had that was mobile suit based that could fly other than the Gundam. Well, the Gundam essentially could fall with style to Earth and protect itself from the atmosphere, but nothing like the Ares, really, or to that extent, even the Taurus, which could transform into a bit more of a better attack fighter. Yeah, nothing comes to mind.
Yeah, I guess there's more if you go into the Zeta era, but then everything flies, so it's not quite as specialized.
Everything's got an attack, a mobile armor mode, and should fly faster in space. And I was like, oh, come on. That didn't last long.
You're a mobile armor, and you're a mobile armor.
Yeah, you can transform. Like, well, I really don't want to transform. Why don't we just keep the frame the same, and we just make the engines go faster? Like, no, you need to transform for some reason. You need to take a spherical shape.
It's more intimidating when you approach your enemy that way.
But I'm going to have to go against some of these Wing comments, though, Brian, because, like, yes, the Ares was great, and it has cool thrusters because it can fly, but it's still such a hideous, big fighter pilot-looking helmet thing, monster, flying around with its folded-up knees, you know, and the Taurus is also kind of a cheap thing because it, you know, kind of lays on its back, and it's got its optic sensors just looking into the sky, not even looking forward when it flies. That always struck me as weird. I don't see how people like the Leo. There's also somebody, I forgot who, he commented that he liked the Leo, but the one he said he liked didn't even appear in the series. It must have been in a manga. It was like some super custom Leo that was so customized it practically looks like a Sazabi or something. It's like red. It has a cape and a crown.
Oh yeah, that might have been. Yeah, I think I might have given him that one because there was someone who commented with that one a long time ago, and I can't find the comment anymore, so I don't know who it was. So whoever you are, thank you for sending that one because that was the coolest Leo I've ever seen. But yeah, it wasn't in the show.
Please agree with me on this, though, Brian. At that point, it's not even a Leo. It became a different suit, right? It became a lion.
Well, yeah, I mean,
because it was that powerful looking. Like it's not a Leo.
Yeah, it looked way cooler. I mean, again, I think the Leo, it doesn't have to look so drab. You know, if you put some more colors on it and bring out some of the details and put some more accessories on it, you could make it look okay. But the ones in the show, I just thought were, you know
what that is? We saw that in Iron Blood Orphans, right? I forgot who it was. It wasn't Mikazuki. It was somebody else. They got like a Gundam, and then like at the midpoint of the show, or maybe at the end of season 1, it got such a dramatic facelift that it had like a completely different looking body. Do you remember that? I think it was previously skinny and then it got fat, or it was previously a fat Gundam and then it got skinny.
Well, yeah, it was Galio, and he changed his Gundam Kamaris into the Gundam Vidar. Is that what you're thinking of?
I don't know. It might have been one of the good guy Gundams actually.
Oh, okay. Well, then it was Akihiro getting the Gundam Gujin from that bad guy, and then turning into the Gundam Gujin Rebake Full City. It went from being green and fat to like not skinny, but more Gundam-like and tan gray, like khaki colored.
A speed runner, a sprinter. But yeah, even though they might call it the same thing or whatever, it's clearly reached the point where it's become something else. So we're all entitled to the mobile suits we like, but at the same time, there's a certain point where yours got customized so much we can't even identify it as what it's supposed to be, what the name is.
Yeah, that's fair. One of his next points, he says, definitely worth reflecting on why this became and remained so popular. And what if Cartoon Network had introduced Gundam with a different series? How would they have done instead, do you guys think? I don't think 0079 would have worked for that younger demographic. And my thought on that, Isaac, is I kind of agree with him, because 0079, I don't know that it did that well on Toonami.
No.
I think a lot of the people got into Universal Century because of 8th MS Team and 0083 more over here anyway, and I think that's because Americans like shiny things. I don't know that Americans like old animation.
Yeah, absolutely. And more to your point, Wing hit when the iron was hot, right? It was red hot because of the boy band craze at the time. So it was very popular. I'm glad that they used that avenue to introduce Gundam. And I think only by introducing that, then you can bring in things like the original series. And then afterwards, 0083 and, 8th MS Team, things that were much more crisper, very recent, and very palpable for American eyes.
He also said that he loved the idea of the show more than the show itself. And I thought that was a great way of putting it. And it also made me think, Isaac, that there was a lot less choice back then. So when an anime came on that you liked, you really latched onto it, even if it wasn't perfect. But now there's hundreds of anime just at your fingertips. And so if Wing had come out today, would it have caught fire? I don't think so.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it, right? Huh. No. Ironically, well, at the risk of sounding sexist, maybe among a more younger female demographic that would really enjoy watching it. Maybe just because of the whole boy band thing and
could be, yeah.
Yeah. But getting back to your point, I feel like back then, anime was pretty much you found some DVDs and you kind of took a chance. Or you found bootlegs and you took a chance, or you logged on, not logged on even, you turned on the TV and you hoped you caught it on Cartoon Network at the end of the day. And then the way you'd find out about other animes you should watch is probably at your circle of friends that also watched anime at school. Nowadays, and dating Brian and myself, this was back in the early 2000s. Nowadays, sky's the limit. You can watch old shows, you can watch new shows. There's so many different genres that are available to you. I don't think Wing would have been as meteoric because it had a monopoly back in the day when it came out. So now it would just be one among many.
And on that note, Eat On You on YouTube is adding that he watched Wing in the last 6 months, and the easiest comparison he can make with it is it's like Friends or The Office or Parks and Rec. It's good to have on the background while doing something else, something you've seen a bunch of times, or it's got a very simple plot and doesn't require your full attention. The last time I watched Wing, it was something in the background while working on a few model kits. And that kind of makes sense to me because remember, it was airing on Cartoon Network and it would air every day. And if you just had it on, if you just knew that, hey, I'm home and I'm going to watch Toonami, I'm going to leave it on in the background while I do other things, while I do homework. I think that was a common thing that people, that kids or teenagers in the target market would have been doing back then. I was doing that. I'm sure you were doing that. And so if you see the same episode over and over, by the third time, you already know what's happening, so you don't even think to stop and think, like, does this make sense? Because you already know that's just what happens this episode, and that's, you just go with it. It's kind of like Dragon Ball.
Yeah, I'd believe that. I wouldn't say it's so much because the plot's simple, but more because there's points where it just zigged and zagged so much that you're just kind of like, whatever. They're talking about pacifism, and I know in 5 minutes there's going to be a battle outside the castle, and that's it. That's it, right?
True.
So I'd almost want something even more brain dead in the background, like G Gundam.
Here's a question for you, Isaac. Another listener on YouTube, Ryan Cook, asked if we are going to read Glory of Losers after this. And again, for those that don't recall, Glory of Losers is sort of this newer retelling of Wing and all of its various side stories, kind of in one manga package that's a little bit more streamlined. And he's asking this so that once we read Glory of Losers, then watch Endless Waltz, then we could read Frozen Teardrop, Isaac, which is the sequel. I believe they are light novels, which have the characters from Gundam Wing moving to the Mars sphere to try to colonize Mars.
Oh, God.
I believe Hiro and maybe Relena were put into cryo sleep, so they have not aged much, whereas some other characters like Duo have actual time has passed, and Duo is a lot older now. I have not read it, but I've read a few things that happen, and it's quite bonkers. So I would love to suffer through Glory of Losers just so that I could hear you read Frozen Teardrop and review it, because I think you ranting about Frozen Teardrop would be hilarious.
I'd love to. And, even though I'm not the biggest Wing fan, yeah, I want to continue the journey and see what happens with whatever shenanigans they get up to. God, who's left to fight? I thought they brought peace. I thought that's what the whole point of this conflict was.
Well, didn't that message at the end of the show say that there was peace in the Earth sphere? What about the Mars sphere, I think?
You got me there. Uh-oh, is it Jupiter? They have to deal with their own Jupiter.
Crux Dogati's coming for you.
He's back. It's a new Dogati.
Here's a humorous note. So Christian Wolf on YouTube, he says, lots of people like to complain about how anime was better back in the day. But I distinctly remember a time in the early 2000s when Anime News Network had a post about current anime that's on TV, in which they declared that Gundam Wing was the smartest, most intelligent anime in any programming block.
Wow.
The bar was low, I think.
They didn't have a lot of competition.
Well, and he goes on to say, folks, never forget that in the late 90s and early 2000s, a lot of anime fans judged the quality of a show largely based on how batshit confusing it was, which is partly why Wing and other stuff from that era managed to have such a holdover so many viewers.
They're saying Evangelion without saying Evangelion.
That's funny, because the first person who commented right after him said it was I am me and not me. He said, we live in a post-Eva society, because he clearly got the reference, and that was immediately what I thought of as well, was Evangelion.
Yeah, anything confusing and referring to anime at that time period, I'm like, of course, they're talking about Evangelion.
Yeah, that's right. So what about that concept, though, that anime was better back in the day? I feel like that's a whole separate thing. I think it's true in some ways and false in others. I think as you get, and I don't know, this is just for me, I don't know how you feel, but as I get older, I think the best you can do is just enjoy whatever you liked from whatever era for what it is. It's not always better or always worse,
I can kind of second that. I'd say that everybody has nostalgia, right, for the first anime series that they found. That's almost always almost their favorite one, right?
Right.
The first genres that they really dived into. They got a lot of good memories talking about with their friends at high school or college, whatever. So for that reason, yeah, you and I will always have our kind of original series that really kicked us off into anime. You know, the 0083 and Cowboy Bebop and Outlaw Star, Trigun, everything else that we saw back in the day. But what really I think is good about now is just the sheer variety, the ability to watch it on demand, to binge, definitely. So I think not so much that they're spoiled nowadays if you're just getting into anime or if you've been into anime for a few years. But, this is going to be your nostalgia in 10 years, 20 years.
And you also have to remember that whatever you're watching today was greatly influenced by stuff from the past. So whatever you're watching today would not exist without Cowboy Bebop and Trigun and Gundam Wing, and how many people became interested in animation or storytelling because of those shows. So
or space fascism,
or space fascism, right? Yeah, how many little space fascists,
yeah, they watched Gundam growing up, and they're like, you know what, we should end democracy.
Eat on You on YouTube wants to know what we think about potentially a redo of Gundam Wing. So he says, so this is wild speculation, but with the 30th anniversary of Gundam Wing coming, they didn't really do anything for the 25th. I could see Sunrise redoing the series using the corrected, flushed out Glory of the Losers story, because Sunrise likes a big event to milk a few more dollars out of the cow with retellings that could be commercially successful. Because then if you do that, Isaac, then you could go create the new series, the Frozen Teardrop series, and pitch it as like, oh, this is brand new. What do you think the likelihood of Gundam Wing being redone, as he brings up Dragon Ball Z Kai or Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood, sort of retelling corrected format, and then going on to the sequel from then? Do you think that's likely?
I'd be very surprised if they redo it, but if they did, I'm not a bitter fan or anything like that, but I'd want them to make it as great as they can. I want them to absolutely be successful and to stick the landing. If this manga is infinitely better, sorry, not even infinitely better, if this manga's half better than the anime series, I'd be very happy, and I'd absolutely watch a remake of it. Even if they said it's not going to be that much different or anything like that, I'd be curious enough to rewatch it. Yeah, I'm all for it.
Yeah, I agree. I would watch it if they made a new one. I've never heard anything bad about Glory of the Losers. All I hear is praise. So I kind of hope it gets remade so that all the people who love the show can have a better version of it to go back to and to share with their kids. So,
would you want them to bring back the same voice actors, Brian?
I don't think it was really the voice actors that bothered me. So if they're available, I wouldn't have no problem with that.
You don't want me to do Dermail?
Yeah. So Isaac, listeners, Isaac has been working on his Duke Dermail impression for a while now. Isaac, why don't you hit us with some Duke Dermail?
Brian, first, I need you to tell me that you're going to embrace total pacifism and we need to demilitarize our military.
Duke Dermail, we are going to embrace total pacifism and demilitarize all of our military.
Those are very naive ideas.
So please send in a rating of Isaac's Duke Dermail impression.
But first you have to watch that scene in whatever episode that was in, where like Dermail's meeting with Relena, and she's like already been elected the queen of Ramafeller, and she like tells him that, and he immediately fires back that it's so naive to say that. It's like day one of you being queen.
Yeah, day one. I think we should undo everything we've done up to this point, and I've been here for 24 hours.
Sure thing, Your Majesty. I think that was also the same meeting though, where Dermail found out that like almost everybody in the room was backing her up, and he needed to like quickly be careful.
Yeah, that was when he tried to start playing a little bit more of a 3D chess, and it didn't work out.
No, he ended up in a shuttle in space getting blown out of the sky.
Yeah, never get on a shuttle in space in Gundam. Never ends well.
No, oh god. Get in anything but the shuttle.
Yeah, just wait. Yeah. Just stay on the ground.
And if you're in a colony being attacked, never get to the colony shelter. Just get off the colony. But not in a shuttle. Oh, that's such a catch-22, right?
Yeah.
You're damned if you do and damned if you don't.
Yeah, I guess if I had a choice between the shuttle and the colony evacuation block, I think I'd still take the shuttle.
Really? Huh.
It depends how bad the attack is, right?
Yeah, because you know the moment like any mobile suit sees that shuttle taking off on a runway, they're gonna blow it up right before it gets to the exit. You know what? You just get like a little maintenance like ball or a little mobile pod thing, whatever, and go into space. That's your best bet.
Yeah, something neutral looking. You don't want either side thinking that you're gonna fight with them.
A cargo tug. No, we've almost never seen a cargo tug get blown out. You know.
Another point here from Honest Observer, which I thought was a good one and interesting. He says, I have to say that one thing Wing, despite being the one to kick the whole damn Gundam Bishonen trend off, has over both Seed and 00 is better character models. Despite having older and rougher animation, the Wing boys look more distinct from each other and less bland than the glossy dolls of those series. That goes to both the pilots.
Glossy dolls.
He's right. He says that goes to both the pilots and the secondary characters too. I think the crazy hair of Wing actually helps in that situation. And of course, this is subjective, but I thought about that, and I think I agree with him. The Wing designs are a lot more memorable than both the Seed and 00 designs for me in terms of character designs. Seed just has those big eyes.
Yeah, really big eyes, right?
Yeah, and Seed came out in that time when that art style was popular, and it was really on the one extreme of that, and I don't think in a good way. And 00, they're not ugly in the same way as Seed, but they're like too clean for me, I think. 00, maybe it just seems generic to me.
I'm going to say that they both have pretty noticeable designs to me. I mean, sure, there was an overall glossiness to Seed, sure. Definitely very bright compared to like Wing's somewhat more muted colors. Not that Wing was very dark at all, but the design of the characters, the hairstyles, the colors used, it very intentionally kept them different and diverse in Seed. Wing, to an extent, their forms were much more similar, I'd say. You could almost be forgiven for thinking they were all, cousins or something, except maybe Catra. But Seed, you looked at some of the pilots on both sides and you'd be like, no, these people can't be related. He's got green hair. And Izaki's got like a bob haircut. Men don't have bob haircuts or white hair like that. So,
but that's cheating a bit, right? Like,
how? Your design is head to toe.
Yeah, but I think when you start branching out into like bright green and white hair, I feel like it's a little cheating's the wrong word, but it's, if you compare your stuff to someone who stuck to a more realistic color palette, of course you're going to remember, well, he's the guy with green hair. Well, you're the only one who used green. Like you didn't read the assignment, but
maybe. I don't know. But going even further, like 00, maybe just because of my lack of interest in that series, everybody kind of blends together. I could have named 5 characters in 00. I think I can only name one of the villains. Aliel Sanchez.
Well, there's the pilots. You got Setsuna. You got Lock-On Stratos.
Oh, of course. That's it, right?
No. Check it out. Hallelujah Haptism. This is one of the worst names in Gundam history.
The design, the head of them, right? That died. Aeolia Schoenberg. Yeah, whatever.
Right. But who is the other? We're missing like 2 more Gundam Meisters. First of all, they were called Meisters, Isaac, which I was always like, what does that mean? Why you're a Meister?
I assume Mr. Aeolia went deep into his German roots and said, well, we're not going to call them Masters. We'll call them Meisters.
Mr. Areola.
You know what? Even though this was a much more superior series, and I'm talking about Iron-Blooded Orphans, some of that carried over, right? Because I really don't remember a lot of supporting characters on the side of Tekkadan. We had blonde guy with like medium hair, blonde guy with short hair. We had red hair guy that piloted something and died.
Well, I think though that in Iron-Blooded Orphans' case, you would definitely recognize them from their actions and from what they were doing in the show. I think that might have been a specific decision to keep Tekkadan a little samey because they were all the human debris. They didn't have...
That's what they are. Thank you for saying that. That's my favorite word.
But then your main ones were very distinct, right? Like Akihiro, Mika, Orga, Biscuit, rest in peace. Those were all...
You can't forget Biscuit.
No.
Oh my God. Talking about character designs, Biscuit sticks out like a sore thumb, right? He looks like they got an animator just for him. Because the style looks nothing like anybody else in the series. The proportions of like his head and his eyes, like all those poor kids are like so malnourished at the beginning of the series. Is Biscuit eating all the food? Maybe he's not viewed as human debris. You think they like the company before Tekkadan, whatever it's called, like Global Security, whatever it was.
Oh yeah.
You think they he was actually like an employee, so he was getting like regular rations.
I don't know. He does seem more well nourished than the rest of the cast.
Yeah, I think he did, because if you remember, he had like siblings, right? He was like, his wages were going to his siblings or something like that. Remember?
Yeah, he was sending his money back to his little sisters, Cookie and Cracker. Again, some of the best names in Gundam history. But he also had his older brother who worked for the Colony Corporation, right?
Yeah. Okay, that explains it then. He wasn't human debris. He actually had like a family or something like that. Okay. All right. Good for you, Biscuit. And you know what? He was a high earner because he could afford to eat whatever he wanted.
So it sounds like we're maybe not totally in agreement at this point, but I guess I'd be interested, listeners, what you think in terms of like which show has your favorite character designs. Is it the rougher, older animation style shows? Is it the new glossy dolls, as Honest Observer is talking about, or is it somewhere in between? Isaac, here's one for you. Jonathan on Facebook says, regarding your idea for a G Gundam spin-off, I think Heavy Arms would make a perfect Gundam America, especially if you look at the Ingel unit. If you think about it, when it comes to America, everybody thinks of guns and our overwhelming military power, so he fits the bill almost perfectly. You know what, Isaac? If you paint Heavy Arms red, white, and blue, and maybe you retheme it to be like AR-15 themed, I don't know. Could be a Gundam America.
Yeah, I like that. It could definitely look well with red, white, and blue, right? Because it's already got a lot of white on it. It's like, red, orange, and yellow. So I think that absolutely works. Yeah. I think even the Gatling gun wasn't that made in America? I'm pretty sure whatever the Gatling guy's name was, it was invented for the Civil War.
Oh, could be.
Let me do a quick Google. All right. Made by Richard Jordan Gatling, who was an American.
There you go.
Thank you, Mr. Gatling.
Gundam America it is. All right, Isaac, next topic, Endless Waltz. So there were two great things sent in about the Serpent. So Honest Observer writes, an old fan site taught me that the 13th constellation refers to I can't pronounce this. Ophiuchus, the snake, which is considered the 13th astrological sign and corresponds to Serpent. I assumed by the first conversation introducing Dekim and Marimea, where she says the mobile suits came from her father, the Serpents were at the very least an Oz design that either the Marimea army copied or they stole some suits that Treize had been keeping in reserve. Though you guys make a good point that their walking Gatling gun design doesn't seem to fit with Treize's chivalric notions. Maybe that means he scrapped it and they built it anyway. So I did not know that the Serpent was the 13th constellation. So does that change your opinion on the Serpent, Isaac? I still think it's weird that he would use an astrological sign since he's not part of Oz, but I guess maybe if it was an Oz design, that does make sense.
Definitely the face looks very Oz, right? But at the same time, yeah, it's like, you find out that there's a Soviet weapon that had like NATO designated designed optics or something like that. You'd be like, well, they'd have to have stolen it or been aware of it at the time and developed it. Like they reverse engineered it. I don't know. It doesn't make a lot of sense, but they very much maybe wanted to tie that in somehow. And that was the best way they could. Like, oh yeah, this one's got a Zodiac name too. And it's the only one that wasn't used. And look, it even looks like the mobile suits from this timeline.
Honest Observer also wanted us to weigh in on the titular line about history. History being an endless waltz, the three beats of war, peace, and revolution continue on forever. I have no problem with that line. I liked it. What's your thought on it? You're the history buff. How did you take that line?
I wouldn't so much say revolutions all the time because, sometimes your government and history, the way it plays out, you don't really have a revolution. Your government just gets toppled by maybe another country, or your country kind of ceases to exist and splits in half. Things like that happen. But yeah, I'd say for the most part, even just a cursory knowledge of history shows that we're either going to be at peace or we're going to be at war. And we never stay at one or the other for forever. So that's how things go, and Gundam captures that very well.
Eat On You adds an interesting thought that I had not had before. I think this film answers a what-if question in the Universal Century. What if Minerva went with the laws instead of Haman? Mary Maya is the polar opposite of Minerva, and there are a lot of similarities between Delaz and Deck and Barton. Also, the timing just works out to where there is zero chance this is a coincidence. So do you think that Mary Maya is a alternate version of Minerva, essentially? Do you see them as comparable characters? What do you think about that comparison?
That's pretty interesting. I've never really thought about it, but now that it's mentioned, yeah, I absolutely see them as comparable characters. The only difference, though, is really the nature of their fathers. Dozel wasn't really the actual leader of Zeon at any point, whereas Treize was absolutely the leader of Earth for a lot of points in the series. They were also somewhat controlled by people that weren't family, but kind of claimed to be. Mary Maya had Decim, Minerva had Haman. So they have that kind of shared puppet role in their series.
Yeah.
So I think they absolutely kind of rhyme together.
I think the difference, though, is Minerva was more controlled when she was younger than Mary Maya. When Minerva's Mary Maya's age, I feel like she's a more competent character. Or, well, I guess I don't remember how old Mary Maya is in Endless Waltz. I'm thinking of Minerva and Unicorn. At that point, she has a lot more agency than Mary Maya ever did.
Yeah. We never found out what Mary Maya went on to do, but she clearly was led the wrong way, and it went bad. Minerva's almost been, well, I guess it's a new type of abilities, but she's clearly been choosing the right choices.
Honest Observer wanted to know if there were any UC characters that resemble Treize, and his suggestion was perhaps Paptimus.
Ugh. I'm not sure how I feel about that comparison with Paptimus. What? I mean, I'm not the biggest Treize fan, or the Paptimus fan, but wow, I don't really see that. Do you?
I don't think I saw it in Paptimus. I was thinking the two that came to mind for me were Zabine or Darrell Rona, but only in the sense that they had the aristocracy shtick, going. Neither of them were good-natured as Treize, right? I feel like Treize, at his heart, is noble. I'm not sure that that's true about Zabine or Darrell.
Yeah, I'm gonna go way into left field, and I'm gonna say Treize and Lancero from Gundam X. Lancero was a very committed Space Revolutionary Army officer, but he was also proved to be much more on the side of humanity and peace. Treize maybe went about trying to create peace the wrong way, but in the end realized he needed to kind of die in order for peace to actually happen.
You cheated, though. That was Gundam X. It was supposed to be Universal Century.
Okay. All right. In the Universal Century only.
Great answer, though. That's a deep cut right there.
Yeah. No, I was about to say Gato, but like the only thing they share in common is their ideals, really. Like how far they're willing to go for their ideals. That's the closest I could get.
Yeah.
And they're both such extra pilots. I'll give them that. Yeah, that's true.
Okay. So we'll move on to another topic, but again, thanks again, listeners, for all the Wing and Endless Waltz discussion. That was quite the discourse, so really appreciate you all taking the time. Isaac, let's move to the Jupiter Sphere once again.
Oh, no.
Eat On You was wondering, with respect to the Steel 7, Crossbone Gundam Steel 7, why the 7 pilots we got were those 7 people. And he was saying, look, they need 7 pilots. That's easy considering all who should be alive. Tobia, Judah, Rue, Hathaway, Benager, Riddy, and Jonah from Gundam Narrative. This would be the most OP Gundam team ever, but because half of them were created years after Steel 7 was written, we as the audience miss out. So I don't know that all those people would be willing to sign up for the Steel 7 assignment. That said, I guess if you didn't have a limit on your 7, Isaac, would you try to go get those 7? Or like, who should be on the 7?
Oh boy.
I mean, I agree with his thought on Judah. I feel like he would do it, and he kind of would have done it had he not been helium shipment thing.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. But like, I don't know. that kind of puts in like logistics. How do you get those people, right?
Yeah, I mean, you need a lot more time, I suppose, to go get them. None of them know each other, right? If something like Benager and Ensign Riddy, I feel like the Unicorn sequel will sort of, I said take them off the board one way or another in my reply. I don't know that Benager wants to fight anymore.
No, he was anti-war from like the first third.
Yeah. He was never on board. Yeah, he didn't really even want to get in the damn thing. So
it's almost like in Gundam, the more powerful of a pilot you are, the more anti-war you are, and you just want the war to end.
Yeah, that's fair.
And the more bad you are, I guess the more bloodthirsty you are, because you're gonna be guns blazing out in there and just get killed by the Gundam. Yeah.
His suggestion of Jonah from Narrative, that's a good one. Hathaway, without going into too much spoilers, I'm not sure that he would be too available for that assignment. But there were some others I thought of. What about our other like F90 era friends? There was Berg Skred. He was the main character in the Formula Wars game that we played. That dude killed like 1 million Xeon people. I would definitely want him on my team. The main character from F90, Def Stallion, he did okay. I would put him on the team too if he was available. So I feel like there's a lot of other people kicking around. I still would want Harrison to go based on his supposed track record that we've never seen.
I'll give him this. He lives. So Burns, he's got that going for him. The ability to come back from missions.
Luck ran out for Burns, I suppose then. But,
yeah, that's true, but not until the end. many times before.
But yeah, I guess Eat on You. It's a good thought. I guess I'd have to go with it's so short notice that I don't think everyone can make it to this assignment.
Yeah, almost like I'm trying to think like what movie I'm thinking of. Like I don't know, sort of like an Avengers type thing, right? Where there's a threat coming, but you have enough time to go across the Earth sphere to collect everybody.
Yeah.
I can see that working, just not within the time limits that we almost always face in manga stories that have to be really being under the gun to get something done.
And as you pointed out during our review, they wasted several hours having their nice meal from Geary on Earth when he was a chef. So
I mean, they did have to kind of, I guess, placate him, right? Like he needs to be patronized, and we have to eat the food before we can actually bring him on.
True. Here's an interesting one, harkening back to our games discussion from a long time ago, Isaac. Hugo Sandez on Twitter says, if you guys could make a Gundam game, what would it be like? And I replied that we would both want, I spoke for you, Isaac, so I apologize. I said we would want a sequel to Bonds of the Battlefield, which is that one where you sit in the big cockpit and all the data is shared across all the arcades in Japan, that is playable and translated in the United States.
Absolutely. Yeah. I'd want that more than Girin's Greed, because this would allow us to connect to the Japanese community that's playing. It would absolutely cause a growth for an American community. You could put it in like, some of the existing arcades and stuff like that are still around. Certain fans would definitely try to find a way to get into their home. Yeah, I think that might be you and me, Brian.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, sign me up. With VR, that could be a possibility as VR gets better and better. So,
yeah, absolutely. Oh, God, just buy the cockpit thing, just put on your headset and go in.
Yeah.
It'd be amazing.
People online will put up their 3D printed cockpit, designs. You can download it, 3D print it.
Wow.
Put your VR goggles on and just go to town.
Put on your flight suit. Your helmet.
In case you couldn't tell, listeners, Isaac's had his flight suit in the back of his closet for a while. He's been itching for an excuse to put it on.
Let's hope it fits. Brian, are you gonna get a flight suit with like a safety shatterable visor, so if you get killed Shima style, you can tell your wife just to smash that visor?
Yeah, I go for full immersion here.
There you go. Yeah, she'll smash it as you gasp.
But Hugo, I guess my thought here in answering this question is that, as I don't know how old you are, Hugo, but as you get older, Isaac and I play a lot of video games at this point. I'm sure you could make a good Gundam game that controls a little bit better than maybe previous Gundam games. But I think if I was designing a Gundam game from the ground up, I would still want the Bonds of the Battlefield thing, because at this point I'm going for immersion. If all bets are off and I control everything. And the one thing we don't have, or the one thing it's hard to get, is that full-on immersion of being in the cockpit. right? Like that's what we're missing, right, Isaac?
Yeah, and there's been like attempts to kind of do that with like things like Steel Battalion, or people just kind of building, the whole flight simulators that people get really immersive into. But something Gundam would just be really next level. I mean, there's no comparison to it. What color would you paint your cockpit, Brian?
Oh, like if I 3D printed it at home?
Yeah.
Oh, that's a good question. I don't know.
Mint?
No. I don't know. I guess I would try to make an accurate one, It's a lot of grays, and I'd probably put a lot of stickers on it.
Gray and white. Okay.
What about you? Would you have Xeon emblems all over it, like in a Xeon
of
green?
Course.
Or what?
Of course. It'd be very Xeonic in color. Probably make it more black, purple.
Okay. Dom color.
Very Dom. Yeah, a little bit of red here and there. That's about it.
I like it. I can totally see you getting into your Dom first thing in the morning.
Yeah, I might do like the thing that Mikhail did, I think, from 0080, where he had like an open flask in there.
Yeah, there you go.
I'm gaming from home. What's the harm?
All right, Isaac, let's move on to Gundam as a Western. So, listeners, I want to take this opportunity to mention that, I don't know how you all feel about sometimes when Isaac and I go off the deep end and create, Gundam in a different genre. We have fun with it. We like it. We hope you like it too. We try to do different things in this podcast, right, Isaac? I mean, not every one of our shows is a listicle or a review. We're trying to come up with original Gundam topics like Gundam as a Western or the Gundam Hotel. So while they may deviate a little bit from the normal sort of podcast style topics, I don't know. I think, we don't want to be just like any other Gundam show. So hopefully you like those type of things.
Yeah, not that those are bad or anything. It's just Brian and I have been friends for a long time, Gundam fans for a long time. So when those two things intersect, you have like the conversations you have with your friend about, oh, what if a Gundam did this? Or, yeah, how come, what if they did a story like this? Or, how come there's no side story talking about, this battle or that battle? And then that always leads into tangents and stuff like that. So, of course, we talk about like, our own ideas and stuff like that, and, joking around the sunset, blah, blah, blah. But yeah, we hope you guys can, we assume you guys can absolutely relate, not just to Gundam, but I mean, really anything that you guys consume, Star Wars or Marvel or what else, other anime series, who knows? You all have your own ideas about other types of content and genres and stuff like that, universes, and that's kind of the same thing we do here in between, our usual reviews and stuff like that we want to, for series that we want to rewatch and stuff like that, talk about it.
And I hope you like it, because there's another one coming. I don't know when, but it's coming. We just haven't recorded yet.
They're never stopping.
So on that note, Isaac, for Gundam as a Western, we did not receive a lot of comments. However, one of the few we did was from Adam on YouTube. And Adam, you wrote us a book, and I love it. So thank you. So I'm going to read an excerpt from his stuff, because he was stoked about our Gundam as a Western idea, Isaac. So we at least impressed one person. We at least have one convert to Gundam as a Western. So here we go. Ready?
Good. Saddle on up.
I'm going to try to read it with the same enthusiasm with which he wrote it, but I might fail.
Do it.
On to my opinion, he says. First, I want to say, kind of funny how you guys didn't point out that the first Gundam series often does feel like a Western because of the barren lands and dystopian towns. I mean, Amuro finds himself eating bread in a saloon, so Western isn't so far off for 0079. Next, I totally disagree with the team idea. This theme idea of a Western, for me, set ablaze of the idea of a solo Gundam pilot moving through the world just like Clint Eastwood's Blondie. That, and of course, Vash the Stampede, as you guys mentioned. For me, it would be heavenly if the protagonist was basically a straight ripoff of Blondie and almost always tried to use the Gundam as a last resort because of how much attention it draws. He would move from town to town, seeking jobs as a hired gun, only to run into outlaws that used mobile suits for overwhelming advantage, forcing him to eventually use the Gundam in its overwhelming force. This would create a constant threat and a problem of not being able to get to the Gundam on time. He rides a sick futuristic motorcycle referred to as a steel or iron steed. He would be soft-spoken and extremely introspective, seeking not to judge anyone, but instead understand why are they the way they are. He is adrift in this manner with no endgame or goal in mind. He is a transient wanderer, merely using his abilities to help, when and where he can, one step at a time, against the endless problems that befall most of these people. making friends and connections along the way, but always knowing others are in need of aid, forever moving forward, unanchored. What do you think about that for the main character description, Isaac?
I'm all for it. What a fun setting. There's just kind of lawlessness in the West, and this one mobile suit pilot and a Gundam's just going town to town, just trying to get on by. And of course there's bandits running around, and we can bet our money that they're mono eyes.
Yeah, listeners, I think what Adam is describing, what he's referring to when he says Clint Eastwood's Blondie, so that's Clint Eastwood's character from the what's known as the Dollars trilogy. It was a famous trilogy of films directed by Sergio Leone that are very sort of genre defining. The soundtrack is phenomenal. We actually didn't talk too much about the soundtrack on the Western episode, Isaac, but I think it would have to have a Sergio Leone type movie soundtrack, right?
I'd hope so. That'd really bring it all together. That'd probably be amazing too.
Absolutely, you have to have that with all those barren wastelands. Adam continued about the Gundam, Isaac. We had a big disagreement here. So the first thing that came to mind was a Gundam in a poncho, just like Blondie. I'm reluctant to embrace it though, because as a serious Gunpla enthusiast, I'm extremely into machine realistic aesthetics, and I quickly noticed the idea that all fabric seems unrealistic as think Evangelion Unit 2's intro garb. So cool, but what machine could really produce such fabric? So to be honest, I'm not entirely sure. The best I got is it would use 2 massive Magnum beam revolvers. The cowboy hat idea is out the window. Are you kidding? It would immediately make it more of a G Gundam series. It would be cool though if Tequila Gundam made a cameo.
I mean, we kind of explained the cowboy hat idea. It made sense, right? Some type of Minovsky dish or something for the radiation on the world, blah, blah, blah. Something like that, And as for the poncho, I mean, that's got so much iconic weight to it that I feel, no pun intended, that I feel like it would work, and you can kind of hand wave it the same way they did in, what was it, Skull Heart?
Just all crossbone.
Yeah, where they had the beam cloaks. So yeah, I think the poncho can work.
But I mean, clearly Adam takes his westerns very seriously, and he wants a great Gundam as a western story, Isaac.
Yeah, I'd even be happy with Tequila Gundam in the background at some point.
And Jake, another commenter on YouTube and Facebook, he actually sent us some pictures. Apparently, Tequila Gundam makes an appearance in Build Divers with some modifications. It's called Tequila Gundam Daniel Custom. So Tequila Gundam's sticking around. It's got 2 revolvers. I think it has a spot in the show, Isaac.
I hope so. Would that be some type of like alcohol-related episode or something? Like, of course, there's a Tequila Gundam that shows up alongside Whiskey Gundam and who knows, Champagne Gundam.
Maybe it's during Prohibition, Isaac, and Tequila Gundam is like an outlaw.
Well, Prohibition in the Old West, that's going to be rough.
Isaac, I wanted to have a shout out to our unofficial military correspondent on Twitter, Andrew at Workhorse Painter. Also used to be known as Workhorse Diesel. You said he's on loan to us from NATO, right?
That's right. He's taking a break from the fighting the good fight out against the forces against democracy.
Well, right after we did our last mailbag episode, Isaac, he put together a display of his new 1-year war gang of mobile suits. He's got an AK guy, a Goof, a Zaku, a Dom,
wow,
and a Gog, and they're all custom painted. How about those colors on that Dom, Isaac? It's pretty cool.
They all look great. I like the white shoulders, and look at the beam saber. He even did it like it's heating up or something, right? Because it's like white hot at the bottom, and then it just gets the gradations of the heat as it goes up. Look at the Gog. It's all aquatic-y,
Yeah.
Wow, great painting. I like the jungle, maybe forced camo on the Zaku. And then clearly the Guff is an officer, right? Because he went wacky with his paint scheme.
Yeah, he's clearly the leader here. He's got quite the elaborate shield. I like that.
He's like, you know what? I want everybody to know that this is my Guff.
I am really effing important.
Oh, he's got a shotgun too. That's cool.
Yeah, I wonder where he took the shotgun from.
Oh, and the Zaku. I just realized the Zaku's got the 90 millimeter.
The machine gun you like, yeah.
Yeah. The much more advanced one. Nice.
So, Andrew, it's people like you that make me embarrassed to post my Gunpla because I cannot paint like that.
Yeah, this is what Gundam's all about. Look at the AK guy. Like, initially you look at it and you think it's kind of simple, but he did that cool thing where along the edges of each segment, it got a little bit darker, right? So it's like got almost a weathered look to it, like it's been used in the environment.
Yeah, that's some classy airbrush shading right there.
Yeah, very nice. Wow, this is impressive.
See, this is why we pick good correspondents, Isaac. We don't just pick anyone.
You know what? When we do our side story, I hope we remember this shot, because they should probably be in the side story.
Yeah, there you go.
Andrew, we're hijacking your designs. That guy's going to be in the side story, the Gov commander, and then this rest of this little squad. I don't know. We'll call them something. We'll call them the gang. Gang of 5.
I think our side story takes place in space, so we'll have to figure out a way to get the At guy and the Gog moving around a little faster.
Well, if we're going to have space Juagus, we can probably have space At guys and space Gog.
That's true. Don't give away the whole plot, Isaac.
I won't. It's a surprise. Well, they knew they were coming.
All right, Isaac, last comment for the day. This one came from Jonathan on Facebook, who had a new twist on your Chrono Gundam pitch.
What if there were 2 Chrono Gundams? Wow. I mean, that absolutely makes sense, right? Because this whole series is about the past and the present. So Jonathan said, during testing the engines, the cycle frame resonates out of control and brings some people from the past to the present. Due to the cycle frame resonating out of control, during the engine testing, a portal is opened connecting the present to the event of the Axis shock. Oh my God, Brian, where could this be going? This then transports Char and Amuro to the present. Oh, of course it does, because they were missing during Char's counterattack at the end, right?
That is right. They disappeared.
They time ported, Brian. Char leaves his escape pod and steals a red Chrono Gundam during the confusion and faces off with Amuro in the new Gundam. Char gets the upper hand, immobilizing the new Gundam, and takes off in the red Chrono Gundam. Eventually realizing the true power the red Chrono Gundam possesses, Char goes on a journey to right the wrongdoings of the human race through time and space. Wow. Like, we have to go through time to catch him? Like, it's a time chase movie?
Yeah, it's a time chase, time race, And
you know what's going to happen? Char's going to go to the time of the dinosaurs and successfully drop the asteroid. Jonathan continues, Amuro and the rest of the testing team must then chase after Char, continuing Amuro and Char's fight to a final battle to stop Char once and for all. Chrono Gundam versus Chrono Gundam. He later wrote, maybe have a moment where Amuro foils Zeon's Operation British by shorting the colony to change its trajectory, causing it to land in Sydney instead of landing on Jabrow. Wow, that would be such sweet use of the time-hopping abilities of the Chrono Gundam to show that it worked enough that they went into the past, or maybe they had to go into the past, to stop Operation British, which was going to be successful without the intervention of the Chrono Gundam.
Yeah.
Jonathan finally says, to wrap things up, maybe ending the series in an epic recreation of the final shot to defeat Char, causing both of their engines to explode, the shockwave sending the testing team ship back to the present, bringing things back to normal. He said he realizes this is a bit of a stretch and it kind of resembles 0083, but anyways, he hopes we enjoy the idea and maybe make a Chrono Gundam pitch episode 2. Maybe we will. Maybe we'll come back to it. I mean, alternate universes and stuff like that are always interesting. What if, what could have been. What do you think, Brian?
Well, Isaac, he really took your idea and really ran with it here.
He sprinted.
He really used it to connect the Universal Century timeline backwards and forwards from the 1 Year War to the Axis shock. Quite the feat there, Jonathan. So what did you think of it, though, Isaac? I mean, this was your baby.
I think this is, in many ways, an improvement on my idea because they're actually using it to go through time and influence things. But seeing Char and Amuro come back and continue the fight, it really explains where they went.
Do you like that explanation better than the one we got in Unicorn/narrative?
Yeah, with their whole, how their spirits lived on or whatever, and their souls lived on. I was never a fan of that kind of explanation. To me, they kind of, I preferred the whole MIA dying,
Yeah.
But this is, why not? Why not kind of do that? Unless fans feel like it's going to be such an eye roll. that they lived and they went through time and then they ended up impacting like events in the past, but of course that raises the question of, well, how did they know they had to go into the past to fix those things, to make them happen the way they did? Fair. Unless they happened by accident. But of course now we're talking about, we're going to make ourselves cross-eyed talking about time paradoxes. So yeah, I really like, Jonathan, how you dug deep and you went to all these different ways that we actually get to use the time traveling ability, and it actually kind of shows that it did have an impact in what we've already seen.
I think any manifestation of Chrono Gundam would have to be in some sort of alternate timeline. Your pitch, Jonathan's pitch, doesn't matter. Both of them would just really rile up the purists, and I think there'd be a lot of eye rolling. That doesn't mean it couldn't be a very fun series. I mean, I would watch it if you made it. I think the likelihood of something like this getting made is pretty low.
Do you want, like, at the end of it turns out it was all a dream for, like, Amuro, and he's, like, on his way to, like, I don't know, some colony?
He's still on his way to Fraubo's house in 0079.
No, it's Fraubo waking him up.
Oh, yeah. Amuro, why aren't you eating Amuro?
He's like, God, I had this insane dream. There was like a war. Something about a thing called a Gundam.
In that continuity, though, Temray is still an actor.
Yeah. And before he goes insane. Jonathan, you're part of the Chrono team now.
Official Chrono consultant.
Come to the Chrono team, where we always have time for more ideas.
Oh.
Zing.
Well, Isaac, that was all we had, I think, on our list. Just want to say thank you again to the listeners for tuning into the show. We greatly appreciate it. Please send us your ideas and keep those comments flowing.
Yeah, absolutely. Keep them flowing. We appreciate it. Got a little colony drop community. All of us Gundam fans united in our love for Gundam. No matter what series is your favorite, who's your favorite pilot, what's your favorite mobile suit, what's your favorite song from the series even. We're all united in our love for Gundam and mobile suits.
Except if you like that 00 movie.
Oh, yeah. Oh, God. And also another movie that must not be named. Right, Brian? Oh, boy. It starts with a G.
Gee, I don't know what you're talking about.
Those are fighting words in our households.
I'm just kidding. If you like the 00 movie, it's okay. But it's not really.
No. No, it's not. Who likes it?
No, there was at least a few commenters that was like, I do like the movie.
They've been banished. They've been sent to Jupiter with no water.
Lucky for you listeners, we have no power over you whatsoever.
But Dogady will when you get to Jupiter. Ooh, I'm just going to yell at you from his fish tank.
All right, listeners, please remember to like, comment, subscribe, and we'll see you next week. Isaac, take us out.
All right, listeners, before you go to sleep tonight, stand next to your bed, get on your knees, put your hands together, look up at the ceiling, and hail Zeon.
Good night, everybody.